Today, I'm going to be showing you how I made the diving and swimming animations for my 4th July level. I'll be showing you the logic from beginning to end for all 4 dives and swimming and floating, as well as giving you tips to help you with your own animation logic. These are all the dive animations that I chose for the right stick. So, I did the cannonball first, so I was really excited about that one. So I knew exactly what animation I was going to use because I'd been scrolling through these when I was bored. So I used boost boots dash down, and this is what it looks like normally. So I just adjusted it so it didn't loop. So that means it plays once, and then I chose the position I wanted him to be in when he does the cannonball. So he's just going to do that, but he's going to do it once. The next dive that I made was the belly flop. So I chose sleepy, idle, sit. So this is what it looks like normally. Really the only difference between the animation that I chose and this one is whether or not it's breathing. And to stop it from breathing, I just froze it at 0.50. It doesn't matter whether loop is on or off, because it's just going to be frozen at that spot anyway, not moving. The animation that I chose for the flip, it was called Crash to the Floor, and you can find it in Sackboy Miscellaneous. So this is what it looks like originally, but I only wanted the flip, nothing else. So I had to change the start and end time. So if I put it too far to the start, then you would see his arms coming out, and if I put it too far to the end, then you would see him sitting down. So I only wanted the flip. And then I made sure to keep loop on yes, so it played over and over again. And then 100%, that was too slow for me, so I put it on 120. The blend time, I changed it to 0.20, so it shifted into that position quickly. The head first diving animation, I was going to originally use that for a Scrooge McDuck level, like diving into the money bin, but I ended up using it for the pool instead. So I chose clap, it's in Marlin Random Miscellaneous. So I just wanted it to be at the part where his hands were together, so I had to find that. It's actually easier to find if you just set loop to off. I don't know why I didn't do that here, but yeah, 0.48 is where his hands are together. And then I had to change the blending time. I had to set it to be lower because 0.30 is too slow. So 0.10 it snaps into the position right away. And the reason why I didn't set it to 0 is it's gonna do that. It's gonna play that animation every time. And I just wanted to snap straight into the hand together pose. So I set it to 0.48. For the rotation, the yaw controls what direction it's facing, like that. So left or right, or like forwards and backwards. I just set it to facing right for then. This controls whether it's facing up or down, and I had it down and a little bit to the right. I made the water in the pool by using floaty fluid from the SpongeBob pack, and then the water on top is an effect that I got from story mode. And then I placed a broadcast chip. The most important setting to adjust here is all in range. That way the animations and any other logic you have on there, it affects all the players in the level, not just the host player or one player. And then I set it to 16 layers, infinite range, so it affects my entire level. I placed a control nader, and I set it to receiver, controlled by nearest player. You're not going to see it in play mode, it's just there to detect which button the player presses. And then I placed a direction splitter, that way I could separately detect the up and down movement of the right stick. If you're enjoying this video or finding it helpful, don't forget to press the like button. So then, I took the animations from the Sackbots and I placed them on the broadcast chip. So I made it when you press up on your right stick, it does a belly flop, and when you press down, it does a cannonball. So the positive input represents pressing up, negative input is pressing down. So right now, if I press down on my right stick, it does a cannonball, and if I press up on it, it does a belly flop. As you could see, I could still do dives in the pool, even though I'm not falling, which doesn't make any sense, but we could fix this. So I added 2 AND gates, and I connected them to the animations. So now, the animations only activate if you press on the right stick and if you're falling, which I detected by using a state sensor. So you see right now, I'm pressing on the right stick because the wires are letting up, but nothing's happening. That's because I'm not falling, but now I am, so I can do a cannonball, and I can do a belly flop, only when I'm falling though. But right now, my Sackboy could cannonball and belly flop on the floor, which only crazy people do, so we gotta fix this. I was able to fix this by adding an invisible sticker panel above the pool, and I placed a tag on it labeled pool, and then I placed the impact sensor on the circuit board and connected it to the third port by AND gates. So what it's saying now is if you're touching above the pool, and if you're falling, and if you're pressing on your right stick, then it plays the animations. Also, for the impact sensor, it has to be include touching. That way, it can detect stuff like circuit piano and hologram, materials that you can just walk through like that. See, right now, I'm trying to dive, but I can't because I'm not above the pool. I have to be above the pool, and falling, and pressing my right stick. So right now, I'm above the pool, so I can dive. Alright, so then what I did is I made the circuit board bigger, and then I just copy and pasted everything from the direction splitter to the animations. I didn't copy and paste the impact or state sensor, but I kept them where they were, and I just connected them to the 2 extra AND gates that I had. So then I just copy and pasted the animations from the Sackboy, and I placed them on the circuit board, and then I connected the left-right output of the right stick, and I connected it to the direction splitter. The positive output is your right stick going right, and the negative output is your right stick going left. So now I could dive, and I could also do a flip by pushing the right stick left or right. The issue that we need to deal with right now has to do with the head first dive. So if you do it in this direction, it works fine, but if you try to do it in this direction, it doesn't flip. The other animations don't have this problem, like the cannonball, you can do it left or right. Same with the belly flop, but the reason the head first dive doesn't work is because of a setting called default rotation. Basically what it does is it flips Sackboy in the direction that he's traveling. So for all my animations, I have override default rotation, I have it checked to no. So for all of these except for the head first dive. And checking it to no for the head first dive wouldn't necessarily solve my problem, it would just make it not rotate the way I want to. So in order to fix this problem, you have to understand what override default rotation does. So over here, I have it checked to no, and you'll see, the first thing you'll notice is that he's sliding around. But the second thing you'll notice is that he's sliding around and he's facing the direction that he's traveling in. But the moment I set it to yes, override rotation to yes, even if I don't change anything, even if I leave it at 0, you're just gonna slide around and not rotate. And that's what override rotation does. So we need to manually make it so he faces the direction which he's traveling. So we're gonna do this using speed sensors and AND gates. Alright, so what I did is I took another animation speaker and I set it to 90 instead of 270. That way it would be facing the opposite direction. And then I took out a speed sensor and I set it to 0.1. That way it detects the smallest movement possible. And one of them was set to left, one of them was set to right. And I connected them to the AND gate, and the second input of the AND gate had the output of the other AND gate going into it. As you could see, I could dive in both directions with no issues now. A problem that I noticed, even before I started making this in game, was the possibility that the player could do 2 animations at the same time. So if you press your right stick in the diagonal direction, the 2 animations blend together. So I fixed this in my sketches even beforehand. I know they're a bit messy, so I'll show you in game. I was able to fix this by using NOT gates for each direction splitter. So the first NOT gate had the left-right signal for the right stick plugged into it, and the second one had the up-down signal for the right stick plugged into it. And then I added an extra input for each of the 4 AND gates that I had. So what this is saying is you could do a cannonball and a belly flop, but only when you're not pressing left and right. And you could do a dive and a flip, but only if you're not pressing up and down on your right stick. These are the animations that I chose for swimming and floating. So for swimming left, the original, it looks like this. I just changed it so he's on his stomach and facing the direction I want him to be in. So if I rotated the yaw, then you see he would be facing left or right, or forwards or backwards. And if I rotated the roll, then he would be facing up or down, and I just wanted him on his stomach. And then for the speed, I thought 100% was too fast, so I lowered it to 70, which is honestly still too fast, but it's a bit better. And then the other one, it's similar, except I just changed it. I changed the yaw rotation so it was facing the other way. So I wanted him to be facing right. Making the floating animation was interesting because I wanted him to look like he was floating, but I was sort of in a rush. So I just chose this animation and I rotated it. So this is what the original looks like. I just rotated it so it was floating on his stomach. But the reason I didn't use something like sleepy idle sit or lying on front is because of this. The sleepy idle animation, so you'll see, once I put it in front view, that the head appears lower, and what this means, once I place it on the water, it's going to appear to be underwater, so I had to choose a different one. That was a bit higher up, so I just tweaked the other animation until it was higher. So I had to freeze it at a specific part in the animation by adjusting the start and end time to make it look like he was floating on the water, and I tested this, and it worked. Alright, so you notice right now, when he swims, it looks like he's jumping around in the water, not actually swimming. What I did to fix this is I made it so when you press L1, and when you press right on your left stick, it swims right, and when you press L1, and when you press left on your left stick, then it swims left. Alright, so now, when I press L1, I could swim, and it's more realistic. But you could still swim as normal if you don't press L1, so I give the player that choice. I made it so that when you're not moving, and when you're pressing L1, then your character floats. Once I connect the AND gates to the animation triggers, you'll see that when I press L1 and I'm not moving, then I float, and then when I'm pressing L1 and I am moving, then I swim. Then I had to fix the problem of being able to float and swim underwater. I did this by placing a tag on sticker panel that represented the surface of the water. I didn't want to make a new tag label, so I just used pool, and I changed the tag color to blue. I copy and pasted the impact sensor, made it blue, and connected it to the third port of each AND gate. Right now, I'm pressing L1, but it isn't playing the animation, it only plays it when I'm on the surface of the water. If you want to know more about animations, I have a video on how to make RPG and hangout animations, and if you want to know more about my level, I have a video on how I made the food power-ups for my 4th of July level.